Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest Crossend Away podcast. It's the end of season review with myself, Adam, and we're joined by the entire cast and crew of the Crossend Away social media team, Bobby, Michael, and Matthew. We are missing one other who will remain nameless, I think, for his own preference. Gents, National League North, what are we thinking?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's unbelievable. The meteoric rise we've had in the past couple of years. I don't think anyone, well, except for yourselves when you tweeted it originally, but I don't think anyone could have ever possibly envisaged that we were going to get there as fast as what we've done. It's been one hell of a ride.
Look.
Yeah, it's just mad, isn't it? Obviously, since I've been going 2015, it's like you never think this would happen, would you really? But I mean, to get promoted last season's unbelievable, really, isn't it? Still, really looking at the teams we're going to be playing next season, it's still unimaginable. Anything. I've obviously been watching football since 14, 15. See, just using Scunthorpe as an example, they used to be in the Championship, and to think they're in the same league as us is just mental, really. Yeah.
Matthew?
Yeah, I was thinking before, using Scunthorpe as well, as Mucky said. Growing up, seeing them on Soccer Saturday, playing a lot of teams that are now in the Premier League and now going to be playing against Marine in the league, which it's just absolutely nuts, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think anyone really expected it in about January when we were hitting our low point, but yeah, credit to the team and the staff got there.
It is funny as well that you say about these teams because, as you said, we're looking at across the league, you were getting the fixtures for next year and thinking these were teams that we would get excited for cup games. We'd probably have to play about 2 or 3 games to get to that point. That was what 2-3 years ago. Before we had to play two games before we would get a National League team.
Yeah, it's absolutely spot on. I think it's even when you look at the things like the trophy. We got knocked out in October time this time last year. But this season we don't even enter till November, and it just shows how far the club have came now. So, it's the let's not get carried away. But things like Wembley's become something which might actually become a realistic if you get a good, nice little run now. So,
just go obviously from the start here. But what was your expectations ahead of the season? I mean, did you think we were going to challenge? I mean, me personally, I thought we could be top 10, maybe challenge for the playoffs, but what were you, Adam, first? But what were your expectations at the start of the season?
I actually joked to Youngie towards the end of the season. I think it was I'm trying to think what game it was in the build-up to. But I said to Youngie, I said, what are you thinking about when we get promotion? And he started laughing, and I was sort of being half serious, thinking if any manager was ever going to do it, it was going to be him with his track record. And I always had this sort of half expectation that we would be in the playoffs. I always felt we were confident there. It was just how far would we go? We get to semi-final. For me, if you got to the playoffs, it's just another season of constant improvement, and we've done a great job. So when we got Rylands, I just felt these were the games that you were going to win because of our history with playing Rylands, and we've never had great success against them. And then losing to Macclesfield as well in both of them games. And games that I felt that we competed in, we were on the level. We were never second best. There were games that we lost. And you always feel, well, certainly I do anyway, going into them games thinking there's a mentality edge there for Marine. Something about Youngie's teams. They'll do it in a 90-minute, essentially as a cup final. When the chips are down, Youngie's teams always seem to flourish in that situation. It's really sort of quite difficult to put into words. But yeah, I always felt like we always had that edge. And if it was going to happen, it was going to happen for us without sounding big-headed. And I hope it's not coming across that way. It really isn't. It's just, I know what Youngie's teams are like. They will lose the league games, but they will turn up for the cup games. That's just how it is. I don't know whether it's that jeopardy. That jeopardy seems to always give Marine the edge. How about you, Bobby?
To be honest with you, I think it's certainly just touching on your point there. I would say I can't really disagree. I think you know, it's looking at going into playoffs and stuff like that. It's just how young he works. You know, it's the way he works. He's so organised, he's so drilled, and the players know where we're at the line. You know, even down, you know, games where we've been a little bit disappointed. So, you know, like the Wrexham one where we came down to the 90th minute. You know, we've shown time and time again that on the day we can beat anyone, and it proved at the end of the year. I think going into the start of the season, you know, it's having spoke with Neil and having spoke with people on the committee and fans. You know, we were told about our competitive budget, so you know, given what we've done the year before, and basically having a really good run with players who you know Youngie had stuck with. You know, I think we did fairly well, and I think you know when Neil made the changes, the wholesale changes. You know, it was always a big question mark, but you know, straight away we're getting the players like Finn. You know, we showed straight away that we had the quality. It was just kind of making sure we could get the consistency. And I think the playoffs were a realistic goal. You know, take away Macclesfield, Radcliffe, and Worksop with the big budgets. You know, why couldn't we be the best of the rest? And I think you know, ultimately, that's what happened. So
that's it. What about you, Matty?
Yeah, coming back to what you said then about Youngie in these one-off games, I remember the first away game that I ever went to was Brackley in the cup, where we went and beat them 3-2, and that was obviously Youngie in charge for that game as well. So it's honestly since I've been going like following the club home and away, I've seen him pull off some absolute shocks. Like I know at that Brackley game there was probably only one league, maybe two difference between the two sides, but the quality in the squads was just like vastly different, worlds apart. So yeah, as you say, he works under pressure. He thrives being the underdog. So that's why a lot of us were quietly confident going into the playoffs. Not so much the home game, but definitely the away game at Macclesfield. We had people saying, you know, I've got a good feeling about this. It's a Youngie team. He knows what he's doing in these games, and he proved it, didn't he?
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, it was as I said, that was obviously top 10 was my fourth, wasn't it? I don't I think real unexpected to be honest, because you look at obviously the budget to Radcliffe, Maxfield, and even Worksop had. Then there's teams like Hard and you know Matlock did that. So I think you know I do think we've overachieved a little bit, but obviously this was where we wanted to get, didn't we? So yeah, that's it. I think we probably overachieved getting promoted, but now you're there, you take it, don't you?
Absolutely. It's funny as well because you were touching on there, Bobby, about signing Finn, and I think we can all agree Finn signing was absolutely massive for us, as it's gone on to prove. But I can remember, I've just got the date up because I knew it was in the June time, and it was the 9th of June 2023 last year that we announced Finn was coming back to Marine. We'd signed him after that stellar spell that he had at Bamber Bridge, and I was in Dirty O'Shea's in town, and I was actually celebrating it like we actually have gone and won something purely on signing Finn Sinclair Smith, because I knew this is huge. This is an absolutely huge signing, not just for his ability, which was massive, but the statement of intent, because there was clubs there, and you know for a fact that your Macclesfields and all of them will have looked at them. I don't know whether we would have went in and made an offer to him, but certainly you would have looked at him, because why wouldn't you look at him? But what I want to ask you guys is, what signing or signings do you think were absolutely pivotal to transform this club into the team that's just got into the National League North?
I've go on. I think Finn's the main. I mean, obviously you look at last. I think Finn and Grant are the two ones you look at it. You know, you need goals in your team obviously to get promoted, and I think them two. You know, obviously Finn's done it all season, but obviously Grant coming in scoring like them the goals he did. I think them two. But there's other signs like you know, before Harvey Gregson's been absolutely unbelievable. I think Owen Robson's probably the most improved player, I think, since he came back from Bootle as well. So, I mean, there's obviously Finn and Grant are the standouts, but I think them two are and I think Butler deserves a mention as well. I think he was absolutely brilliant for us. So, you know, they're the ones I think really.
Bobby?
to be honest with you, sorry, can I just jump in there? I wanted to deliberately not go first on this one because I think because it feels because he's so much part of the furniture that it almost feels like he's not really a new signing. And I would generally say that the most pivotal signing we got was Chris Doyle. I think it's just one of them that it feels like, you know, he is part of the furniture and he's been here for such a long time. But, you know, it's the record speaks for itself. The amount of clean sheets we had in the league was phenomenal. And him and Josh were absolute rocks and the rocks at the back. So, you know, Doyle was the man for me. So what a signing.
Matty?
Yeah, I agree with all of the above. I would, to bring it back to Finn, I mean, we looked last year when we were our first season in the NPL, and it was Bamber Bridge winning around the playoffs, and so were we. And you would check your phone, and Bamber Bridge was have won 1-0 in the 90th minute, and it was always him scoring the goal. You were like, oh, him again. So, yeah, to get him tied down for last year was brilliant. Yeah, and obviously he proved his worth for us by scoring the amount. What was it, 26 goals that he scored? I think across the season, obviously including the playoff final. So he's a man for the big occasion, definitely. But yeah, like you say, Chris Doyle as well, absolutely phenomenal. 23 clean sheets or something, 22, something like that. And that's with a whole host of goalkeepers behind him. I think 3 or 4 goalkeepers. So just that consistent quality across the season, with a pretty much unsettled back four throughout. You know, the likes of Freddie Sass, Waters coming in and out. Yeah, just consistent quality, just absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
So looking through the season next, gents, we'll look at the August fixtures. So starting with a 0-0 draw away at Gainsborough, followed by a win at home 5-1 against FC United. That was followed by a home loss 1-3 to Whitby Town. And then we lost away to Hyde 2-1. One at home, 2-0 against Matlock. And then one at home 2-0 against Baseford. That first set of the August fixtures, what games stood out for you? And did you have any sort of nerves within that period of time, within the August month?
Yeah, not really. I didn't suppose. I think if you look back, I think Sol was out for pretty much most of that month. So obviously it was, you know, we weren't where we wanted to be, but I always felt like we would improve, and I think you've seen throughout the season, like, you know, how important like Sol has been, along with Finn and Grant with the goals. Like, but no, I was never really concerned. I just obviously felt that once he got back fit, because obviously when you're out, I think he was out, wasn't he, for like a month. So it takes you about a couple of weeks as well, doesn't it, to get back into fitness and stuff like that. So I always thought once like Finn and Sol started playing together, you'd see it, you know, us go up the table. Like.
Yeah, I think when it came into August, I think, you know, the FC United game obviously got a lot of people talking. And obviously Mampala scored an absolute scorcher in that goal. I remember being down to College Road then and seeing that directly as went behind. And I think that was just a kind of a bit of a glimpse on what we were actually going to be capable of in terms of scoring. You know, obviously we had the bit of a setback with Whitby, but, you know, it was a complete freak of an accident. We battered him for 85 minutes and he scored 3. So you knew it was just going to be a case where if we could put the ball on the back of the net and keep a few clean sheets, is what we ended up doing. Then you felt we were in good stead, and I thought it was even though the results didn't necessarily show it, I thought it was quite an encouraging start to the season, really. So.
Yeah, bit of a Michael Owen comment from you there, Bobby. Skipping over that. Yeah, I followed the first couple of games from Cyprus. I didn't get to see the brilliant 0-0 draw away to Gainsborough, which I suppose at the end of the season turned out to be a half decent result, because they really have fallen, didn't they? But also I didn't get to see the FC game, but I was following that thinking, bloody hell, how many are we scoring here? 3, 4, then 5. So my first 2 games were the loss to Whitby and the loss to Hyde that I saw in person, which wasn't the greatest of starts. But, you know, the quality of player we'd signed, it was a lot of players from higher levels, likes of Doyle, even Carberry. Asai had a very good season at our level. But But yeah, I wasn't really thinking that we were going to struggle in the league. You know, seeing how we finished last year and we signed better players, you would say. So, yeah, then getting a couple of wins towards the end of the month was big going into the autumn period. Yeah.
It's still burned in my brain. The Guiseley 0-0 first game of the season. Finn getting clattered by the goalkeeper in the second half. I don't know if you remember it. I mean, obviously, towards the end of the season, now we look back on it and it doesn't really impact anything. But if we missed out on the playoffs by a point, you would look at that game. That's certainly what I look at that game thinking. That one awful refereeing decision, we absolutely bottled it. Could have cost us. Really could have, stopping us having this moment. Moving on then to September, this is where we then had quite a few cup games as well. So we start with the FA Cup first qualifying round. That was a 0-0 draw away at Guiseley. We then beat them in the replay 3-0. And then we beat Stafford Rangers away 2-0. We then had the second qualifying round, which was a 2-2 draw away at Spennymoor. We then had the replay, which we beat Spennymoor 2-1. And then we finished September with a 3-2 win over Radcliffe. Oh, I do apologise, actually. We also had the third qualifying round in the FA Cup as well, where we beat Hyde 2-0. So, thoughts, first of all, Bobby, on the September month?
Thought on September initially was my bank account was probably hating me because I think, if I'm not mistaken, we played like every single weekend was an away game. It was brilliant. It was where we really started to build momentum. It was Spennymoor and Hyde, where we started to actually pick up a few wins there. With the Hyde, when Mampala scored that, again, I feel like I keep saying Mampala scored screamers, but there's a theme to it really. Spennymoor was another really, really good one, to be honest with you. We were made to feel really hospitable by the Spennymoor fans. But there was a side in the division above, and I think it was a real opportunity to kind of test ourselves to show how good we are. And I think and I think we did. We've more than showed it. We were really, really good value for our draw, and then obviously we did them in the replay. And then I think when it comes to Radcliffe, Radcliffe was the first real test in the league. I know some of the rules hadn't been great in August, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, Radcliffe had won every game up to that point. So it was great to just really get our foot going there. And it was really clear to see what we'd have to be up against if we were going to challenge for the title and the playoffs. Because Radcliffe were brilliant on the day, and it was just so happens that we managed to just outdo them. It was great.
Over to you, Matthew.
Yeah.
I'll pinpoint you to take the next one.
Yeah, as you say, a lot of away games in September, but some absolutely brilliant trips. The likes of Spennymoor, the birth of the Mampala tequila remix, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, missed the Radcliffe game sadly, and a couple of others. Yeah, I was at Guiseley. I think spent more time watching the cricket than that game. It wasn't the best of games, but the trip again, brilliant. And yes, Spennymoor was great. Looking forward to going back there next year, definitely. And yeah, as for Radcliffe, can't comment too much on that, but I was sweating like a lizard, let's say, towards the end of the game. Following on my phone and listening to Kevin. So yeah, can only comment on Spennymoor really. That was absolutely brilliant. And Stafford, as I missed out on potentially the hottest day of the year. Absolutely roasting. Another good win and another dodgy pen from Sol.
I do believe that was a Say's first goal as well, wasn't it? Bit of a toe poke, if I remember it. Stafford.
Yeah,
just a bit.
Yeah, I think that I'm just going to focus on one game, to be honest. I know we did well in the FA Cup, but I think that the game where I really thought that we could be up there was the Radcliffe game, because for me that was a proper game. They're a top team, Radcliffe, and you don't beat them unless you're a good team. And then it was a really good game because it was end to end. Like, they had a lot of the ball, like, because that's just how they play. But like, we was on the counter attack, like with Sol and Finn, really, like, just like, I think they probably caused them more problems that day than they previously. Like, so I think for me that was the first time when the first game was watched, like, and then I thought, we're going to be right up there because not many teams will do that to Radcliffe, like, basically, in my opinion. Like, so, and that's how it turned out, and they won the league, and we've obviously gone up.
That's it. I remember Dave Mack saying to me after beating Radcliffe, "You've just seen the league winners, whether it was us or them. You've just seen the
Yeah.
league winners." And it's funny because I felt the same as well. I thought we're going to be the top two. It will be us two and Macclesfield. I honestly never imagined Rylands to be up there, and got to give credit to them where it's due, because a lot of things were going on off the field for them that would disrupt any other club.
I
And
think the away game as well, like, sorry to put into that, but even the Radcliffe game, I think both games against, even though the weather's atrocious in the way in the last 20 to Radcliffe, but it was two teams that never, none of the teams, like, just sat back and just defended. Both teams just went at each other in both games, and I really enjoyed both games because, as I said, there were just two teams who just went at each other and just, as I said, we beat them 3-2, they beat us 3-2. There was nothing in it, you know what I mean, in them games.
that's it. The quality of the NPL last season was unbelievable, absolutely incredible. You throw in Macclesfield into the mix, and Hyden put together they put together a good team as well. Rounds were unbelievable. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic league to be a part of last season.
Yeah, I'll just jump in there. It was, I think, even Hyde, like, I know they didn't end up making the playoffs, but there was a time where they were just slaughtering everything in their path, weren't they? They were winning 4-5-0 away from home. I think they came to our place and turned us over. Let's put it that way, 4-1.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was absolutely brilliant league last year. You really got the sense that any team was capable of taking points off any team. The likes of Atherton Coles even getting points off Radcliffe towards the end. Every team, really, the standard was just brilliant, wasn't it? There was no whipping boys, really. Every team, even the ones fighting down the bottom, were full of good players. We took the likes of Gregson from Atherton, I think it was. So just shows you he became one of our best players towards the end. So yeah, the quality of the league was just really, really good, wasn't it? Really strong.
So we'll move on now then to the October fixtures. So just getting the October fixtures here. So with the October fixtures then, we start with the FA Cup fourth qualifying round, which was a 1-0 away win at Halifax Town. We then lost in the league at home to Macclesfield. We lost 2-1. We then won at home against Lancaster, winning 2-1. We then lost away at Guiseley 4-2. We lost in the FA Trophy first round at St Ives Town 3-1. And then that was it for October. So thoughts on what was a difficult October?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. I think it's the whole excitement of the Halifax game, which, unbelievably, I'm sure we'll touch on it a little bit later, doesn't actually turn out to be the highlight of the year. And then the subsequent being in the first round of the cup, I think, kind of took a toll on us a little bit to a degree. I think we played a lot of games. What was it? Guiseley went to a replay. Spennymoor went to a replay. We'd had the FA Trophy against Marsk. And I think it just kind of took its toll on us a little bit, to be honest with you. And the players looked tired. We played Saturdays every single weekend away. On Tuesdays we were playing at home. But obviously the Halifax game was special. It was one of the most fantastic experiences I can remember watching Marine. Going to a National League side and beating them, and we were fairly good value for it as well, I thought. And it was really the amazing Kev Bannon as a commentator. I remember him celebrating the Libby White goal like it was the first goal he'd ever seen. It was amazing. And obviously it was a nice tribute for David Wotherspoon as well, which was a really nice touch. So thanks for Mucky for sorting that one out. But yeah, no, Macclesfield, we looked tired. And it showed. Guiseley was another one where we looked tired and it showed. And then, St Ives. I think St Ives is kind of a bit of a look forward into what we're going to look forward to next year. other than the performance, it was a hideous performance all around. And I think Youngie be the first person to hold his hand up and say it. We just didn't get going. It was a real disappointment to exit the trophy that way, to be honest with you. So, but that's it really. So,
Yeah, I'll go with what Bobby's saying there, to be fair. I think the Halifax game, I thought we did deserve to win. I think they probably underestimated us. And obviously, once you take the lead, you can't turn it off like on and off like a tap. So, and then the Maxfield, because we put so much into that game at Halifax, I didn't really take much on the Maxfield game, to be honest. Like, wasn't too down about it, because I thought you're playing a top team and it's hard to be at that performance twice in 3 days, kind of thing. So, yeah, but I thought it was, I think the funny thing, obviously we talk about tiredness there, and I think we was, and I'll be honest, I was fuming after St. Ives, but I think in the long run, it probably did us good not playing in the trophy. Obviously, you don't want to go out, but I think if you look at the whole picture now and seeing as we've gone up as well, I think not playing in that trophy with the amount of games we had played in the FA Cup as well, I think it probably did us good in the end, really.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. I think for me, Halifax is genuinely up there with the best days I've had supporting Marine as well. Obviously, we went on to have over 1,200 at Macclesfield, but I think Halifax was the first time I'd seen Marine have hundreds of fans at a game, an away game, that is. Yeah, just unbelievable day from start to finish. Brilliant performance in that game. I think everything was perfect. The game plan was executed perfectly, as it often is under Youngie in these one-off games, like we've said. Yeah, didn't get to many other games in October. I went to the Lancaster game. That was good as well. But yeah, St Ives, I think, was not a bit of a wake-up call, but I think, Youngie would have definitely seen a few things in that game that he then went on to fix. And as Mucky said, yeah, it wasn't the end of the world, as we were still in the cup by that. Yeah, still in the FA Cup by then. So I think a lot of focus was being placed on that, really, rather than the trophy.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Matty, because certainly the next game after St. Ives was the game at home to Harrogate Town, so certainly a lot of attention would have been focused on that. For me personally, yeah, echoing your sentiments as well, Halifax Town, it was just perfect. It was the perfect day. Everything gone brilliant. Mucky had done an amazing job getting that Dave Watherspoon tribute flag ordered, and I can't give you enough credit, mate, where it's due. It's how you pulled that out and was able to get the supplier to sort out, mate. Honestly, you deserve an applause of your own there for sorting that out.
Yeah, I'll just add on that, to be honest. I think obviously so sad what happened, and then obviously it was a rush getting it. We had to do a lot of convincing to get him to do in time. But I think obviously winning that game as well, and obviously taking the flag on the pitch, it wasn't about me. It was just a great day and a great moment. That as well. That just topped it all off, didn't it? Really, like that. They're going to go on the pitch with the flag and all that. I mean, he would have done that regardless. But to win the game, I felt was just the best tribute you could really give to the man. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a hell of a game. So unfortunately, then November gets off to something of an auspicious start. It's a 5-1 defeat at home in the FA Cup first round to Harrogate Town. We then draw at home 1-1 with Ashton. We go to Worksop and we pull off what is now something of an infamous 1-0 away win. And then it's a 4-4 draw at home against Workington. So thoughts on November, starting with Bobby?
I think I'll go straight away with the FA Cup game. Obviously, the result was a big disappointment. I think, if I'm being completely honest, and it's no disrespect to Harrogate, is that knowing what some of the teams we could have got a Bolton, we could have got a Charlton, we could have got a Portsmouth, we could have. To get Harrogate Town, who obviously, it's as much as they're a recently established league club, it's, in my mind, it's still a bit of a non-league club, and I don't mean that to be a disrespectful way. They got given 300 tickets and they couldn't quite sell them. But I think it kind of took it from a little bit of a. I remember they filmed the draw in the bar and bistro, and the reaction wasn't all. And I think that just kind of summed it up. Really, it was just kind of bit of a damp squib to what was an absolutely unbelievable FA Cup run, and it was absolutely brilliant. I think what followed was, again, it was when you kind of lose that momentum. I think we'd had that really big, there was a huge buzz around Marine for weeks following, you know, that cup run. And I think once you lose that little bit of a buzz and everyone kind of lost a spark, you know, I think it kind of rubbed off a little bit. I think, you know, it's safe to say that we laboured to results against Ashton, and, you know, Workington was not a great game. You know, we did absolutely brilliant against Worksop, really. You know, Johnny Spittle got sent off. I think it was Johnny Spittle anyway, got sent off quite early on, and it was backs to the wall. It was a really youngy performance, should we say. But, you know, it kind of felt like we kind of just had a bit of a come down from earth a little bit, and it just felt like we were slowly getting into a little bit of a rut. But, you know, it is what it was. You know, it's to reflect back on it, to get into the first round of the Cup, you know, following on from a fourth qualifying round in the third round, you know, was some achievement. So,
Matty?
Yeah, touching on Harrogate, I think you know, the result speaks for itself, doesn't it? But I think anyone who was at the game would agree that it wasn't a 5-1 game. They were ruthlessly clinical. Of course, they were some very good players up front, but what we went in 1-1, was it, or 2-1, something like that, and we could have definitely been in front at half time. We had one cleared off the line. I think we hit the bar, and it was just a catalogue of errors, wasn't it? In the second half, we shot ourselves in the foot time and time again, and ultimately threw it away. Yeah. Looking past that, I think it's important to call the Worksop game what it was. It was nothing short of a heist. We went there and somehow won 1-0. I was at the game. I don't quite know how we did it, even to this day. We were down the other end, and it was just the second half. We had 10 men, obviously, and it was just 45 minutes of bombardment of our goalmouth and just repelling every attack they had, just waiting for the ball to go in, and it didn't. And then at the end of the game, the players came over and thanked us for getting them through it. Really, there wasn't many of us at the game, but I think we did. We played a big part in helping them through it and seeing them over the line. But yeah, as you said, Bobby, I was at the club when they did the draw for the Harrogate game, and it was exactly how you described it. It was not like a dull reaction, because we were all obviously made up to be at this stage of the cup anyway, and excited. But yeah, it did feel a little bit disappointing to some of the ties we could potentially have had. But
yeah, I go along with the Harrogate one, to be honest. I mean, I think for 60 minutes, I thought we were brilliant. And I think we were 2-1 down at that point. So I think we made more mistakes in that game than you probably made all season. You know, every goal we conceded was a mistake. You know, I think a 2-1, even 2-1, I think if Finn a shot and it's on the side of the bar, it doesn't go in, I don't know. And I thought we played well. And then obviously when once you get the thirds, it's one of them against a professional team, isn't it? The scoreline does not reflect the game. And I think after that, I think we had a bit of a hangover after that FA Cup run, you know, with some of the games that we do with like Worthington, and that was Ashton one of them, yeah. The Worksop game, I go along with that. He went to it, and how we won that game was, God knows, must have had nine lives that day, but yeah. I mean, it was some win, to be fair, because I think that was the first time Worksop had been beaten 2 years or something. That sort of might have been a year, can't remember, but it was quite a long time since they'd been beat. So, you know, you obviously take that. But yeah, as I said, the Harrogate game, I felt a bit bad that we lost 5-1, because it was never a 5-1 game. And I think if we wouldn't have made mistakes in that game, I think we could have been close to causing an upset that day. But that's why the professional team, they punish you, don't they, when you make them mistakes. So yeah.
That's it. I wasn't too fussed about being in Turkey for the Harrogate game. I'll be honest with you. Again, for the same thing, there's no disrespect to Harrogate, but for me, you know, I could have had a trip there to going down to the Valley for Charlton away, but Harrogate Springwater at home just doesn't appeal to me. But moving on, then, that takes us to into January. December. Sorry. And December was quite the hectic month. It starts with a 0-0 draw at home with Ilkeston, followed by a win at home 4-1 against Bamber Bridge. We then lose away to Morpeth 1-0. We then beat Gainsborough at home 3-1. We go to Atherton and we beat them 5-0. We go to Whitby on the 23rd of December. We picked that fixture date. No idea. That was a 1-1. Boxing Day was a 1-1 home draw with Rylands. And then 30th of December, we went to Baseford and lost 2-1. So starting this time with Matty, your thoughts on the December run?
Yeah, it wasn't our best month, I don't think, was it? A lot of draws there, and ultimately culminating in the loss to Baseford, which was a really rubbish day, to be honest with you. We left early doors. I think they brought the kick-off forward, didn't they, or something, and it was just a bit of a nightmare all round, really, a bad performance. But yeah, again, it was a mixed bag, I think, wasn't it? The game against Atherton, we looked like unstoppable. Going and beating them 5-0, they did end up going down, but to go there and dispatch them the way we did was just brilliant. Really, we absolutely battered them. To put it bluntly, yeah, a mixed bag. December. Rylands at home, a very good game, but another one of my games where I hadn't seen Marine beat Warrington Rylands in about 6 attempts. So disappointing not to beat them, but like you say, they went on to be obviously our playoff semi-final opponents. So I suppose 1-1 draw isn't the worst result in the world against them.
Yeah, Mucky.
Yeah, it was a mixed month, wasn't it? I mean, there was some good, some decent results. I think draw Whippy's never a bad result, is it? And then we've had a couple of good, decent home wins, but Ireland's are a good team, aren't they? So it wasn't the worst result in the world, although you have our own. But yeah, it was a bit mixed, wasn't it? It was a bit mixed. You're looking to push on really, but yeah, as I said, there was some good results, but then there's games like Ilkeston at home which we pretty much battered them, but we didn't take our chances in there. So I was agree with that. It was a bit of a mixed month for us, really.
Yeah, and for you, Bobby?
Yeah, I kind of have to echo what everyone else says. I think the term I'd probably use is inconsistent. I think even when I seem to recall we beat Gainsborough, and it was comfortable, but I don't really feel like we got out of second gear. I feel like we were just kind of stuck on it. I always feel like we were just kind of like almost kind of going through the motions, other than the Everton game, really. I thought maybe I felt we just needed something to click, and we just needed something else to just kind of get us getting over a little bit more over the line. And I just felt that, I thought that the Whitby game was played in horrific conditions. Obviously, me and you went to that one, didn't we, Adam?
Yeah,
and it was kind of let's get out of that, take what we can. I actually thought we played not that great against Rylands. I thought Rylands looked like the much better tie, even though we had the better quality players. They just looked very well drilled. They looked very organised. And obviously, I never went to Basford, so I can't really comment. But based on what you've all said, I'm going to have to take your word for it.
Yeah, I mean, Baseford was a really bad day. I just felt like we struggled. There was a very contentious decision at Baseford as well, but should have been a penalty in my opinion. It was right in front of me, and I'm absolutely adamant to this day it was the wrong decision by the referee. But again, there's no VAR. We are sort of quite blessed in that sense of I'm more forgiving. I'm more forgiving to the officials. They get one chance to see it. Sometimes they'll get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. One game for me stuck out, which was Bamber Bridge. So I remember specifically thinking going into that game, we need to win here. We need to get this monkey off our back because we'd been in a bit of a bad run, to be honest with you. We'd lost to Guiseley, St. Ives, Harrogate. We drew with Ashton. Apart from Worksop, where we got a win, but again, we stole it. We absolutely stole it at Worksop. Performances have been poor. The results have been poor. 4-4 with Workington. We had that phenomenal goal from Carberry. Then it drawing with Ilkeston. So I just felt with the Bamber Bridge game, if we are going to start being in and around the playoffs, we had to win that game. And I remember the performance was outstanding. It was a team that really was determined to get not just a win, but put a performance in. So moving then into January, and so January sees us starting with a 4-1 defeat away. At home, we lost to Hyde 4-1. We then beat Stafford 4-0 at home. We then go to Bradford Park Avenue and win 3-1. We then go to Bamber Bridge and win 7-1. At home, we beat Worksop Town 2-1. And then we finished January going to FC United and winning 3-0. So starting with you, Mucky, this time, your thoughts on the January month?
Yeah, I mean, the first game pretty much went the way what we've been doing in December, and then something changes, doesn't it? And I know everyone's going to point to Bobby Grant signing, because obviously that's when he signs for the Stafford game, the game after. But I believe something, I don't know what changed, but something did change, and yeah, Big Bobby was a big part of that, but something must have changed, and just because there must have been harsh words after that hard game, because it was unacceptable, the hard game, to be honest about it. So, but I do think that that was the catalyst, because I think you're going to go through every month now till the end of it, and they're pretty much going to be mostly wins, aren't they? So something happened after that game. I don't know whether it was the attitude. I don't not the attitude, but just something changed in the attitudes of the game. So, but I think after that, they were brilliant, weren't they? And I wanted to obviously touch on the Worktop game as well. I think that was near the catalyst, because you one goal down and the goalie was wasting time behind the crowd up in it, and you 1-0 down with 6 minutes to go, and to win against a team like that is some doing. I mean, I know the winner's an absolute wonder strike, but to come back in the last 5 minutes against them, not many teams in that league are capable of that. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, you look at going into it. I know we're a better team than FC United, but even going there, a bit of a look, or a bit of a rivalry to go and beat them 3-0 as well. So it was a brilliant month, really. But obviously, something changed after the hard game, didn't it?
It's Bobby.
Yeah, I think we'll wait to hear what Bobby thought about the hard game. But yeah, after that, it was just plain sailing. Seemed to be, didn't it? Stafford at home, a very convincing 4-0 win there. And we were dispatching of teams like that. We were expected to, with where we were in the league, but you've still got to get the job done, haven't you? And be professional. And I think after that, yeah, what was it? Bradford Park, yeah, absolutely freezing cold. One of the coldest I've ever been at a football match. I think we ended up winning 3-1. Some good goals. It wasn't a great game, but again, 3 points on the board. You don't complain. Bamber Bridge 7-1. I mean, where'd you start with that? That was just phenomenal, wasn't it? I mean, you're never expecting to go to a tough ground, which Bamber Bridge can be. Obviously saw how they did the season before, and beat them 7-1. We looked like, if we'd have had the likes of Grant from the start of the season, and even Matthew Waters, we may have been much further up the table than we finished. And we finished third, but we could have been a lot closer to Radcliffe, is what I mean. Yeah, I think that we kind of just realised at that point, like, we might be on for something here, like the playoffs at least, with the performances we were putting in, not just the quality of player we had, like how well they gelled together, and the results we were getting was just, we were unstoppable towards the end of January, weren't we?
Bobby?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with the high game because Matty's desperate for me to bring it up. I just think that I've been mentioning it maybe leading into November and December. I just feel like we were just kind of going through the emotions a bit. And I think I can honestly say that I've never not wanted to go to a Marine game. When it comes to the Saturday, I've been dead excited to go. When it comes to the Tuesday, it doesn't matter whether it is. And there's just something about the high game. I just had a really bad feeling about it. And I think, straight from the first whistle, we were completely outclassed and outplayed, and you just felt that something did have to change. I kind of alluded to that in December. And then obviously we had witness, didn't we, in the Senior Cup, and Bobby Grant was in the stands. And I think, with Bobby Grant, I think what you're going to get when you speak to Bobby is, being someone who's extremely professional. And he's a leader on and off the pitch. So I think him coming in was basically that shot in the arm we needed to kind of really, really kick on. And obviously we got that really good result against Stafford. And then obviously Bradford Park, and then obviously the Bamber Bridge game, which obviously I actually went to, unlike some of the others. It was I think it was a mixture of both, Bamba being really, really poor and us being right on top of our game. And I think, that was where everyone who needed a goal kind of got a goal, and we were just able to build on it. And I think that was just a really good, FC United again. We were in control, and something just changed, and it just made us look just change completely as an outfit. And then obviously, as we were all building up to that, as we had basically we had the eye of the storm when we played Worksop, and I think in my whole time coming to watch Breen, I've never seen the MTA react the way it has. As I said, as Mucky alluded to, any goalkeeper will find out if they give the Marine fans a bit of stick, it will never normally end very well. And it did, and it's fair play to him. There was a couple of things which got the crowd going, which had been going round as rumour wise, and the MCA rocked. And if there was someone coming to the MCA for the first time for that game, you're going to guarantee they're coming back again, because it was everything non-league should be, and it was such a good advert for it, especially Marine. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's no hiding it. I mean, Hyde, we got slapped. They absolutely slapped us around and mocked us, and it was, at home to be beaten in that manner was it. And for me, going into the next game, which was Stafford, and winning 4-0, and I didn't think the reaction was that strong. For me, it was more telling me that's it for Stafford, that there was no going back for Stafford, which is sad, because Stafford's a club that I like. I think they've got great fans. It's a great ground. It's a great place to go. And for me, I didn't really think that we got going. But then, as you say, Bamber Bridge, we scored. After Hyde, we won 5 games out of 5, scoring 19 goals. And so, as Mucky sort of alluded to before, people are going to look at Bobby Grant, and it's not difficult to see why when you put them facts in front of you. Then moving on then to going out of January into February. February was a bit all over. So it was an away draw to Ilkeston, 1-1. Lost 3-2 away at Radcliffe. Won at home 4-0 against Bradford Park Avenue. In that time as well, Marine had Marsk at home. That got cancelled, and I think this was around about the time the story was breaking then about Marsk potentially coming out of the league. I think it was around this time they may have left sooner, but Matty, your thoughts then on February?
It won't be an in-depth review from me, to be honest, because I didn't actually get to many games in the month of February. Obviously, one weekend for 3 of us in February was spent in Belgium, and taking in some Belgian footy and some Belgian beer. So yeah, didn't get to the Bradford game. February was just a bit more of the same, wasn't it? Ilkeston away, a tough place to go. So to get a point there was good, and on the face of it, a very solid 4-0 victory against Bradford Park. Can't comment too much other than that. I didn't see many games that month, but that's all.
Going to you, Mucky.
Yeah, I think this was an important. Although the results weren't the greatest, and we can add Maxfield, which is, I know you're going to that in March, isn't it, when we lose 2-1. I think this was a part of it. We had a front three, and I don't think it was functioning. The issue we had, obviously, you bring Grant in, he starts, he's the number 9, he's the big, number 9 who's going to hold up. But then you're going, well, Sol and Finn are both left-sided forwards. So how do you fit them? How you fit in the main kind of thing? And obviously, we always probably knew that Sol was probably going to go in the summer, wasn't he? Kind of thing. So I think this was a part of the season where how we were going to get them 3 functioning, because them 3 were the ones, if we're going to get promoted, them 3 were going to get us promoted. And I think you've seen at the back end of the season how them front 3, did get us promoted in the end, didn't he? And obviously Sol scores the second goal in the Senior Cup, scores the goal against Valens, doesn't he? And then obviously Finn scores, obviously it's a penalty, but I thought them front 3 really gelled. But I thought this part of the season was really where we were really trying to how we were going to fit them from 3, and I think it worked in the end. But I went to the Radcliffe game, and I didn't take much up. That didn't dampen my spirits really, because I thought we had a right good go at Radcliffe, and not many teams do that. Do you know what I mean? So it didn't really disappoint me, but it was a bit of a up and down month, wasn't it? Really, again.
Bobby, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, there isn't really much to talk about with February, really. So I'll basically just keep it short and sweet. Ilkeston, as Matty said, tough place to go. Getting a result from that was the most important part. Just not getting beat, keeping that momentum going, and we were able to do it. It's a hard place to go, Ilkeston. So yeah, happy with that. I think obviously then it was just getting that little bit of momentum. It was another huge crowd for Everton in the Senior Cup, which was great. And then obviously then we had Radcliffe, and I think, to be honest with you, I think I alluded to it when we played Whitby in August. They had a 10-minute spell where he scored 3 goals, and if to say it again, if Radcliffe, it's I think their centre forward scored an header off the post, and it was literally the only place. If he'd have hit it anywhere else, Hutchinson would have saved it, and it was just one of them. If it felt like it was writing on the wall, Tomlinson was always going to score against us, as you do. But I thought we played okay, and I think, to be honest with you, I think had the conditions been a little bit better, that second half was basically like playing in a pool, and it just really kind of impacted us, which was a bit of an issue. But Bradford Park Avenue, as Matty alluded to, I didn't actually make it because we were away on the first TCW international trip. But you can only beat what's in front of you, and if Bradford Park Avenue never turned up, then it's still up to us to do our job, and getting a 4-0 win and getting a few more goals on the board was just exactly what we needed. Because if it came down to goal difference at the end of the season, wins like that are going to massively help us.
Yeah, Radcliffe was difficult. We were unfortunate as well not to get a point out of that with Bobby Grant scoring what we thought was a late equaliser. It was ruled out by the offside flag. Obviously, we saw the replay of the game later on, and it was offside. But I mean, to be honest with you, there was people there in the ground who thought it was offside as well. So you can't really have a go at the linesman for that. It was just a horrendous day, conditions wise, wasn't it?
I think was it not a Radcliffe fan in the crowd who came on for the second half who disallowed it as well? The referee got injured. The referee got injured, didn't he, in the first half?
That's it.
Not
So the
once
linesman
the first
went
week,
on.
though.
That's it. But you know what though? I mean, again, what was touched on earlier. 2 sides, 2 unbelievable football and side playing great football, and it was just another great advert for the NPL. And both sets of fans under the one shed in the second half, which it could get nasty. It never got nasty. Things happen, but it never got out of hand. And then at the end of it, full time, I mean, people were shaking hands on the way out and wishing each other all the best. I think for most of us, that was it. Confirmed Radcliffe were going to win the league. Then they weren't going to be challenged by anyone else now. So they were wishing us all the best for the playoffs and stuff. So yeah, it was just it just ended on a bit of a damp squib though with the weather wise. But other than that, that took us then into March. And so March starts, as Mucky touched on before, a 2-1 away defeat to Macclesfield. We then win 1-0 at home against Guiseley. We then go to Lancaster and win 2-0. And then we go to Matlock and win 1-0 there. So starting with Bobby this time, your thoughts on the March month?
I think March was another one of them months where I think we really started to get the momentum going. I think we all, as a fan base, kind of accepted that if we could get anything from the Radcliffe and the Macclesfield games, it'd be a massive bonus. It was ultimately the other games which came into it. Guiseley was a really ugly game, I seem to recall. Guiseley, I think they just came trying to set up and try and grab a 1-0. And luckily, it was us who got it. And then obviously we went to Lancaster, which I would probably put there as one of my highlights of the year. We were absolutely brilliant. Another great advert for how far Marine have came. There was probably a good couple of hundred fans there. And it was a great spectacle for us there. It was Sol. I feel like Sol hadn't scored a goal for a little bit of a while, and then he managed to get one, and it was great to see. It was great for him, to be honest with you. And then obviously we did Matlock as well. And Matlock was another bit of a scrappy game, to be honest with you. And then it's following on from his goal on the Saturday. I think Sol scored again to win 1-0. But it's sometimes getting to that point of the season, it was kind of a case where get some points on the board and try and build some momentum. So even though the performance wasn't great, I think Matlock went down to 10 men in the first half. So it was just a professional performance, and it was great to just get those more points as we moved into the playoff spots. So.
And you, Mucky?
Yeah, I mean, the thing I took from Max the other day, and I thought we played well that day, but the thing I took from it was we're going to be playing these in the playoffs, and the goals we conceded were poor. Now, I always said, if we get them, we'll score goals against them, but can we stop them? And we did, you know what I mean? We stopped the mistakes that we made in the league game. I agree with Bobby, the Gaza game was ugly, the Matlock was ugly, but they're the games you've got. You can't always play fitty football, and smashing teams 5-6s and all that. Sometimes you got to grind them out, and that's how you get into the playoffs, and that's how you win promotion, isn't it? So I think it was a very good month. I thought we played well in all of them. Do you know what I mean? And as I said, when we played well, we won convincingly, and when we didn't play well, we still won the game. We didn't drop points. So I think it was a pivotal month really for us in the match.
Yeah. And for you, Matty?
Yeah, definitely a very important month. Arguably the most important in the course of the regulation season. Definitely. Guiseley at home, 1-0. I wasn't at the Maxfield game, so I won't comment on that. Chose to keep holding my 17 quid, my student loan, for that one. So it starts with the Guiseley game. Halfway line ish strike from Bobby Grant to seal the deal on that one. Just brilliant, absolute scenes when that goal went in. A big crowd for that game, and they were rewarded with a good game between two good sides and an absolute goal that did the game justice to win it. Really, yeah. Moving on to Lancaster was again phenomenal. Obviously making a trip out of it at the weekend in Lancaster, going on the Friday and staying over, and on the Saturday about 250 odd Marine fans descending on Lancaster to watch the team win 2-0. And I think that helped again. We always talk about how big the fans are in supporting the team, but I definitely think that we had a big effect on them because it was a tough game, a tough pitch, freezing cold again. And they ground out a 2-0 win, didn't they? Obviously, was it Bobby Jones saving a penalty as well? So, yeah, I think the fans' impact was just brilliant there. Singing non-stop for the 90 minutes and getting them through it. And then Matlock again, yeah, took us about 4.5 hours to get there on the way, driving through the heart of Derbyshire. And that was another good game, yeah, another solid 1-0 win. Not the best quality, but at that stage, it's at the point on the board, isn't it, that matter, consolidating your playoff place and sort of cementing yourselves as one of the teams who are going to be in there at the end of the season. Wins like that, yeah.
For me, I thought the Guiseley one, touching on Bobby Grant's goal, that for me was sort of the game that said we can get in the playoffs. This can really happen for us because teams find that way. The most successful teams are the ones that just find a way when it shouldn't really happen, and it doesn't matter how long you play for. It looks like you're never going to score, and then just one sheer moment of brilliance, and that's it. And those are the best teams. And yeah, I mean, going into Lancaster as well, I felt momentum was on our side at that point. The fan base was unbelievable. As you say, people had stayed over and made a full weekend of it. Then there was easily 250 there on the day. The town was just Marine fans. You could spot them everywhere around the town, and the noise on the day, just everyone turned up for it. And I just felt like, yeah, the momentum's here. We're going to get something out of this game. And I say Sol broke his duck. He hadn't scored for a few games, I don't believe, and he got the first goal. And then the penalty save as well. Everything about that day at Lancaster was perfect. The absolute perfect day. So that'll take us now then into April and May, where the fun really begins. So going into April and May, we have a defeat away at Rylands, 2-0. We then win 3-1 at home against Morpeth. We then go to Workington and win 3-0 there. We have Atherton at home. We win 4-0. We then go to Ashton United and win 3-1 there. We then have Rylands at home in the non-league, in the playoff, sorry. in the NPL playoffs. And then in the NPL final, we have a trip to Macclesfield where we win 2-1. In that time as well, we have games in the Senior Cup in which we'd beaten Prescott Cables 1-0, and then we beat City Liverpool at home 2-0. Thoughts on April and May?
Love it.
Start with you then, Mucky.
Oh, go on then. Yeah, well, the Ireland game, I think we pretty much got beat up. If it was in a boxing, if it was a boxing match, it would have been stopped, wouldn't it? Really. And I think for me, a bit like back when I spoke about Maxfield, I think it was another game where we lost, where I thought, what are we going to do different? Because we're going to be playing them in the playoffs. What are we going to be doing different in that game? And then I think the game afterwards, the Morpeth game, if I remember rightly, I think we were 1-0 down in the 75th minute. And I think that was the game that got us into the playoffs, because I think obviously Solly equalised in that game, didn't he? And then we got a penalty and we won it, and then to win the 3-1. But I think that was the game that literally, got us in the playoffs basically. And then we won the Ashton. I think the Ashton was about whether we could be at home, which I always wanted to be at home again. I know a lot of people were saying, in some games at home in the past, we've, not played our best and we've lost games, but I always felt like in that playoff semi-final against Ireland, we wanted to be at home. And it obviously was a big call by Youngie, wasn't it? I think it was Finn he dropped. I think he dropped Finn, didn't he, for that game, and he put Louis Wright in. And I think that was a bit of respect towards Ireland, really, weren't it? To do that, because, he obviously didn't do that against Maxfield, so he was obviously, he was worried about, their threats kind of thing, but, it worked, didn't it? He got his tactics spot on, and, we ended up winning the game. And then the Macclesfield game, he went full in, didn't he? Played Finn and Sol, and it worked again. And then I thought we deserved, to be honest, I really think we should have won the game 2 or 3-0. Yeah, I don't think Bobby Jones really had much to do in that game. And we learned, in the both playoff games for me, we learned from our mistakes in the league game, where we defended well, we didn't make mistakes. And we always had goals in us. And I honestly thought we could win the playoffs, because if we could defend properly, we were always going to score goals in them games. So, you got to hand it to Youngie if you're getting tactics spot on. But also you got to give the players great respect as well, haven't you? Because the big players have turned up. Finn and Sol and Grant's led the line well, and the whole. And especially I mentioned for Gregson as well. I thought Gregson was absolutely brilliant in that last month and the playoffs.
Yeah, Matty.
Yeah, hard to disagree with anything I said there. The Rylands game brought us a bit back down to earth, didn't it? I think we'd had a very good run, beating the likes of Matlock away, and a couple of games before that. And the Rylands game was a bit of an eye opener. It was like, are we really sort of gonna not make the playoffs? I think we were at that point, but like, how are we gonna fare in the playoffs? I mean, against the likes of Rylands, who we did end up playing. I wasn't necessarily doubting it, but I think if you couple that with the results away to Macclesfield and Radcliffe and a couple of other results, it was like, how we don't really tend to do well against the big teams, and it was a flaw last season as well. I mean, the season before, I think we didn't win many games against the teams that finished right in and around us in the top 10. So I was a bit wary, but we found form again, didn't we? Going to Workington and winning 3-0, and the Morpeth game was a big one, like you said, Mucky, where we were obviously losing 1-0, and then I think 3 goals in 15 odd minutes turned the tide, didn't it? And it was like, I think we were pretty firmly in the playoffs by that point, and then obviously going to Ashton, needing to get the job done because Rylands won, so needed a professional performance there to give us the home advantage. And Sol obviously scoring a corner, which was a bit bizarre, but it was a bizarre sort of game, wasn't it, really? Their goal was a fluke. There was sombreros and all sorts of other accessories, but going into the playoffs, I think that just set us up well. There was a big cohesion between the players and the fans. everyone pulling together to sort of get over the line and achieve the goals that, well, we wanted really to get out of the NPL. The Rylands game at home in the semi was brilliant, a massive crowd there, and we were full credit for our win. I think the 1-0 win, bit scrappy at times, but we got over the line and into the playoff final against Macclesfield away, which obviously a very daunting prospect. But like we mentioned before, it's Youngie. It's a one-off game. It's he's Mourinho in these games. He doesn't mind being the underdog. He'll take any challenge head on, and yeah, that was just an absolutely brilliant day, wasn't it? Just can't put it into words, really, can you? How good that was.
How about you, Bobby?
Yeah, I guess, when we start with that Rylands away game, I think the only way to describe it was utterly disappointing. I think, we'd watched a lot of Rylands, or we'd heard a lot about Rylands, and they were gritty. But, we're a good team. I generally thought, going into a little bit of form, I thought we generally had a good chance going there, and they just got the tactics right. And I think they're one of them sides. I think I remember at the time, I seem to just kind of describe it as a bit like a Wimbledon of the 90s. Just flat track bullies, really. But, if they get in front, you're not really going to beat them. So, I think with that in mind, it was kind of like a really, really good signal that for what we're looking forward to in the playoffs. I think we'd almost resigned ourselves to being away in the first leg of the semi-final there, because I think at that stage, Rylands were like 6 points ahead of us. I think they hadn't been beaten for such a long time. And I think they ended up losing to Worksop on like the penultimate game, which really set it up in our hands, which worked out great for us to position above them. And then obviously it was things like Ashton. Ashton, as Matty said, it's probably the game we wouldn't have won a couple of years ago, yet we turned up and we played really, really well. And, as in between them, I don't think anyone's kind of mentioned it yet. We had Prescott in the Senior Cup, and then obviously we had the Perps in the final. And I think having them two games really kind of helped us forget about the Warrington game, really. It really just kind of let us focus, just build as much momentum as possible. And I think having that Senior Cup game and having 1,700 people there, seeing us lift the trophy was massive. And I think that really kind of just gave us a lot of momentum. But I think going into the playoffs, and I've said it to many people now, I was more nervous about the Rylands game than any prospective final, because Rylands were a hard team to play against away from home. I seem to recall I must have annoyed everyone ridiculously, that I was absolutely going every single game. I remember I think Worksop scored in the 90th minute against Rylands to hand them their first away defeat of the season. And I think after that, I'd gone off them, then they lost that little bit of confidence, and I thought, why can't we do it? Why can't we beat them? And then as I think it goes on the day, it was a very cageous game, and I just think that Rylands didn't bring enough on the day, and I think that was much to our advantage. Going into Macclesfield, I think Mucky commented it was basically a free hit. We had nothing to lose. It's the Macclesfield had the big budget. Macclesfield out hybrid. Macclesfield had a copious amount of good players such as like John Rooney and Duggan, Drummond. Apologies. And we had nothing to lose, but as we know Youngie and we know how he sets up in these big games, and I think just the time to reflect on the 1,250 fans who went is incredible. It's to get 1,250 Marine fans at a home game a couple of years ago would have been incredible. To get that for an away game is incredible, just absolutely brilliant. And we just turned up, and it was an absolutely brilliant. It was an absolutely brilliant day, and I think credit to Robbie Savage and Jay Leary for getting that sorted there, really. They didn't have to give us 1,250 tickets, but they did. And it was, I don't see how you get a better day than that watching Marine. It was perfect. And, I just hope that if there's people who are listening to this who were there on the day, come back next year and just make sure you keep coming, because it's going to get even better next year. And as it goes, we went up. So get in.
It was outstanding, wasn't it? The culmination of everything coming together. I remember the Prescott game, the first time we'd seen Jack Goodwin. I think a lot of people came out of that game saying, Prescott, we're going to be probably the team in the playoffs for the NPL West. And well, what came to fruition. Jack Goodwin names was on everyone's lips at the end of that game. What a tricky player he's going to be, and he'll do well there for Cables, and they'll go on to do well. And congratulations to Cables on, much deserved, and they'll be a great asset to the NPL next season. Which, with the likes of Blythe going down, Cables coming up, that's going to be another hell of a league again next season. There's going to be some unbelievable quality in the NPL. The cup game with the Perps, again, the Perps, what a season they had. All the things that gone on off the pitch for them to then find themselves in playoff final, to then be in the Senior Cup final. They were competitive in that final. I know it was 2-0 and the result went the right way, but they were competitive, and got to give them the credit where it's due. A lot of other clubs would have fell by the wayside for what went on at that club off the pitch. So, got to give credit to the Perps where it's due. For us, I mean, how brilliant was that cup final? As you say, such a big bumper crowd at home to see us win it in the manner that we won it. There was speaking from the fan side of things, everyone coming together, speaking to each other, right, well, let's chip in, let's get balloons, let's get this, let's get that, let's just make it a party. And people came down. There was people there watching their first game of the season, no doubt, absolutely loving the environment that had been created there, and the noise on the day was fantastic. Going into the Rylands game, touching on what Michael had said there, I was nervous going into the Rylands game. I wasn't even thinking about who we might play in the final because we had to get past them, and we know how tough Rylands are, having lost to them 2-0 only weeks earlier. It was the decision to drop Finn that sort of gave me up, that thinking we can do this, that we got a real good chance, because you don't drop Finn. It's just the rule with the season that he had. You don't do it. And to him to drop it, to bring on Louis White in that place and to change the formation, I thought incredibly brave, but also incredibly astute. And it's that difference. To drop a key player like Finn tells me, he's sat there, he's spent hours here, he's worked it out. And yeah, I'll happily lose games in the league to win them 90 minutes, because touching on what we said at the beginning, it's that jeopardy, that 90-minute jeopardy of almost like a cup final environment. Youngie excels in, always has done in his career. And then you get to Macclesfield. I mean, what do you say about Macclesfield? Everyone at Macclesfield, what Bobby said there, Jay Leary and Bobby Savage Smethurst, they all got together, the committee, how hard they work to make things happen. And that's not an easy task to have a sellout at this level where everyone is a volunteer and has normal day jobs. To be able to organise it to the point where everyone gets into the ground, everyone gets there safely, you get 8 coaches running, you've got 1250 away fans, no bother on the day, everyone just there to have a good time. I mean, how gracious were Macclesfield at the end. We had beaten them in a final on their ground, had gone on their pitch, and their only interest in was just applauding their players for the season that they had, and let the away fans do what they got to do. Security was quick to get across the pitch. Incredible how I saw one of our fans getting picked up by a steward and frog marched off the pitch, and fellas coming on now on a scooter, which I have no idea how he got on the pitch, but he got on. Is one of the greatest scenes that I've ever seen, ever since Matt Royland at Chorley doing the Black Beauty gallop. Just absolutely fantastic to see. That whole day was perfect, wasn't it? It's great. Yeah, I've watched the video several times, and you just see how different reactions. I saw the second goal, everyone's going mad. I'm seeing Georgia bash everyone out the way to get to the front when we scored the second goal, elbows out the lot. And I can see myself, and I remember I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I wasn't celebrating. I sort of just trying to take in what I've just seen with 2-0 up. It's perfect, wasn't it? An absolute perfect day. And then the party, and there's a brilliant video that I love of everyone back at Marine in the car park, and we're all singing "Give a Little Bit of Respect," Erasure. And I filled up actually a bit watching it, because it was just sheer joy. Everyone was it was joy. Nothing that goes on in the world, geopolitical events, nothing mattered apart from on this day, in this moment, everything was good.
Good day, wasn't it?
It was just perfect, mate. Absolutely perfect. So with that said as well, I want to touch on get your thoughts as well. We lost an absolute giant figure this season in Dave Wotherspoon. Really tragic, but deeply upsetting for a lot of people at Marine. He'd been there forever. He was Mr. Marine. It really was. If one figure in the club's history deserved that name, it'd be Dave, in my opinion. I'd love to get your thoughts about Dave as a man, your experiences with him, what he meant to you, what you think he means to Marine. I'll start with you, Bobby, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, my time watching Marines, obviously not been as long as both, Matty and Michael and yourself. But I think that's kind of probably where it's probably a good place to start, because even though, it's that I haven't been there for a long time, he was always there and always happy to say hello. He was always very welcoming, which was always quite a nice thing, coming from a bit of a different background to Marine, which was always quite nice. I think genuinely he's one of them people that if you did cut him open, he would generally be black and white Marine. It's always the same spot in the bistro. Always just a lovely fella. And it's a case where, if there's ever a legacy, what a legacy to leave. So
That's it. You, Matty?
Yeah, hard to put into words, isn't it? The impact that he had on Marine as a club, and also Crescendo Way. As you have said, he was very complimentary to the group throughout, and if it was almost as if we were towards the end of the season and the Halifax game, we were competing for him, literally. He's just left such a big hole, hasn't he, at the club? Impossible to fill. And glad we got over the line. And gutted he wasn't there to see it, because he'd have absolutely loved it.
Michael?
Yeah, he's the man speaks for himself, doesn't he? Really, you won't have one person who would ever have a bad word to say about him, would you? And I think the biggest, obviously, this was well as I do, Adam, is when we started TCW, and this isn't a dig at anyone, by the way, so anyone thinks it is, but a lot of people were wary about us. We were a bit loud and stuff, something totally different from what Marine we used to. And Dave was one of the few who was very, positive about us, and always spoke to us, and gave us advice and stuff like that. As I said, the flag was not we're not me or the group. It was just to give a great tribute to a great man, and it was a privilege to do it. You know what I mean? But as I said, there wouldn't be one person who would ever even say anything bad about Dave. Dave was just a brilliant fella, and I think obviously you knew him better than me, than you had him. Like, you had more conversations than I did, and when he was here, and but as I said, he was just a great man. And that's all I could really describe him, as a great man who just absolutely loved Marine, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you touched on there, when we started Crescent Away, we're not a proper supporters group. We're just a bunch of lads who got disillusioned with Premier League football and found an alternative. And it just so happened that we all gravitated towards each other because we all started going at a similar time. And we just saw that Marine had the perfect foundations to start something special. It really could be the alternative. And people were rightfully wary of us, and we never covered ourselves in glory. I look back at some things I said at the time where we were very vocal, and I'm embarrassed by it, by the way I conducted myself. But you have them moments where you're sort of at the time where you're so adamant you are right and everyone else is wrong, and you feel like it at times it did feel like it was us, the 8, 9 of us that were going versus the 300 that were going regularly at Marine. Then you'd have someone like Dave Wotherspoon who put the proverbial arm around you and say, well, give you a little bit of advice, but he was supportive. It was never you're wrong. It's have you thought about it looking at it this way? He asked me several times, would I ever consider going on the put my name forward as a nomination on the committee, which I know I couldn't. Not confrontational, but certainly now with a baby coming, I just couldn't do it, and that's why every end of season do when someone gives me a live microphone, which is a very mad thing to do with my history of live microphones. Fair dues, I love the trust they put in me. But yeah, no, that's why I always make that point of thanking every single volunteering committee member, because Marine is their life, and they've done every single job I think you can do at Marine off the pitch. It really did, and he does leave a huge hole. But most of it was just having that support. That someone who's seen everything there is to see at Marine, took on 9 lads who just started going, got together, just saw the opportunity for change positively, and just tried to help us in his way, not getting involved, but just sort of guiding. And you can't ask for more than that. You really can't. And as you say, it's a hole that'll never get filled at Marine. It really is, and yeah, he was just an absolute class act, an absolute gentleman as well. Yeah, I don't know what else we can say. If anyone deserves a statue, it would be him. Or maybe a bust. I don't want to spend on the budget.
He certainly deserves some form of recognition for the new stadium.
Absolutely.
Absolute minimum.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And even if we did something now, even if you just rename the Jubilee or something, or just give him a corner or
fantastic show,
yeah, that's it. But so with that, moving on then to with keeping in line with great figures at the club, Rolly Howard won league titles, but never was able to get Marine into National League North, or what it was at that time, simply because of the ground requirements out of his control. He couldn't do nothing with it. What will be Neil Young's legacy then, when we look back on this in years to come?
If I can go first, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
I think it's bandied about far too often, the word legend. But I would say arguably that Neil Young is a Marine legend. Whatever happens now, it's to take over us where we were, on the cusp of going down to the West, unsalvageable, to get us to where we've been, which was 2 promotions, 2 runs into the proper round of the cup, in the first round against obviously Harrogate, third round against Tottenham, which obviously completely revitalised the club. It's putting an identity on the club. It's a lot of hard work which goes in behind everyone, but ultimately without Neil and all his hard work, it's not possible. It's to have, it's not always the case in non-league where you're able to build a legacy for as long as what he's been able to do. Obviously, we're in the unique circumstance with Rowley as well, but it's, for me, he's not an icon. He will be a Marine legend for whenever he decides that he needs to call time.
Yeah. As a fan, a fairly new fan, I think I first started going when Tommy Lawson was in his last days, his last season probably, when Youngie took over. So my whole Marine following has been under Youngie. I don't really know much different. So yeah, like you say, even back when the year we went down, we still had the Brackley game where we went and won 3-2 there. And that run we went on towards the end of the season was special, wasn't it? We didn't really lose any games, but the damage was already done. So we were down, and you never know, that could be the best thing that ever happened to us. It's a loose term, isn't it? But you never know. Would we have been in this position now if that hadn't happened? A complete gutting of everything that was holding us back. And obviously the Tottenham run is just, how do you even describe that? It's just absolutely changed the club, hasn't it? We're still seeing the benefits of it today, and we will for decades, honestly. That famous cross-end away tweet, we'll be in the Conference North in 3 years, and here we are.
Mystic Muck.
It's still not going to be the 3 numbers, Mucky.
It was probably a bit of a drunken tweet, but it probably came through, didn't it?
Well, yeah. honestly, Youngie is just he's broken the barrier, hasn't he, between the you know, the Northern Premier League and the three-sided ground shouts, and you know, we'll never go any higher, and here we are on the cusp of our first season in the National North with a brand new ground to come in a few years, and this is just the start, isn't it? Like, who knows where we're going to go? It's a special time to be a Marine fan, and long may it continue.
Absolutely. What's your position, Muck?
Yeah, the jobs he's done unbelievable. I think it's even more unbelievable because, like, obviously people talk about what he's done in the past, but a lot of people don't realise his last two jobs before he came to me. I hope he doesn't mind me bringing this up, like, but the last two jobs were Stockport and Ulsan. Now both clubs were struggling financially, but they didn't go well. He then he did he went to a position at Halifax high up. So, but he'd been retired, you know, for a few years, so he hadn't, you know, been he wasn't really in football. Do you know what I mean? So he kind of reinvented himself to come to Marine and to do what he's done in that like 4 years, basically, because obviously COVID was the season that got called off. You know, to do what he's done in the 4 years, it's just. I mean, if someone said to you 4 or 5 years ago, we'd be in National League North after we got relegated, you just had to take them away and say, Jack. Do you know what I mean? It's just will not be possible. And I totally agree with Bobby. I think, you know, I don't like comparing theirs, and especially when I was not part of the last one. But obviously you see the, you know, the trophies won, and obviously that was down to the ground weight. He never went up, didn't he? But I think you know, he is a legend, and I think in decades to come, he'll be getting spoke to in the same breath as Rolly Howard. He may not do as many. I doubt he'll be there as long, but you know, when people talk about Marine managers, I think them two will be, and someone may correct me or tell me another Marine manager, but them two really will. You know, they'll be side by side, which I think, you know, is a big compliment to Neil that he's in that bracket, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, Mucky. For me, it was always Rowley, followed very closely by Youngie. Now it's Rowley and Youngie. They're side by side.
Yeah.
They are. How can you say one was better than the other? Rowley had more tenure, he won the league, but what Youngie's done completely revitalised in a different set of circumstances where there's a lot of money in the NPL and the non-league pyramid, and to do what he's done and how the whole club's revitalised, because he hasn't just done well on the pitch, the whole club. He spearheaded everything on the club, how the club recruits, how it goes about business, how it goes about contracts, how it scouts players, the setup for the team, just everything. The entire infrastructure has changed, which he has been a major figure in, along with the committee, along with like the Jay and Paul, Dave Mack, Peter McCorn Snacks, you know, everyone, you know, yeah.
I think he shows what a great manager is, because I think his stock now is higher than when it was when he got Chester and then promotions. Because when you talk about obviously Chester, they had the budget, probably the best budget from up until they got to the National Prem. Yeah. That's not the case with Marine. They've never had the biggest budget in the league. You know what I mean? So to do what he's done, like, and I can't remember which, I think it's around 2010. So to do what he's doing like 10 years later, and his stock to be higher than what it was, in my opinion, or what it was at Chester, is just, I think that just shows you how brilliant of a manager he is, in my opinion. Like,
I just want to touch on what you're saying there as well about like with Chester, because they also had the fan base and they also had the ground. They had everything there to go to start on a clean slate, as long as they had the capital behind them to get going. With Marine, it's very different. Marine's coming off the back of what was at the time, and their 125-year legacy of only a short period in that time of having any sort of success.
Yeah,
you're old rope. Marine was very old rope at a time where the Peps had just started, and there was a massive interest in them because it was the shiny new thing, and they were going on great wins, promotions, trophies. They had this hell of a fan base starting behind them. And where were we? We were a crowd of 300. Not a lot was going on. You know, forgive me, Dave, for saying it, but even Dave once described Marine as telling us it's like some weird little secret society behind big black metal fencing, and that was the phrase that he used, right? Like a secret society. Look at it now, the whole spearheading thing. I will pat ourselves on the back as well, Chris, and the way what we've done when we start, and now what we've got a WhatsApp group there with 50 odd people in that all contribute. We've now got 5 of us doing the social media, where at one time, there was 4 of us, but contributions differed, and now there are 5 of us, sometimes 6 if Matt Royland sometimes gets involved in, as he has in the past. Yeah, everything's changed for Marine, and he is the figure of it. So yeah, no, Dave Wotherspoon's getting a statue, absolutely young years as well. I mean, how could you not want to give people the flowers now for what he's done? And it's going to keep getting better. And that's the thing under Youngie, it's not stopping. And look at it today, the news today. Bobby Grant signing. This was like the £10 Thursday special at a brass house. It was touch and go, and here we are. He's signing on for another season. Where do you think this takes us for next season then, Matty, with Bobby signing on? And
yeah, I mean, just kind of apprehensive a little bit. You just don't quite know what to expect, do you? It's uncharted territory completely, as you all know. So it's obviously calls for massive excitement and good vibes around the club. First season in the National North, competing with the likes of Scunthorpe and Chester, and this is where a lot of people feel we deserve to be. Like, not to be big-headed, thinking we're better than other clubs, but the likes of the teams in the 90s who did win the Northern Prem but weren't able to quite make that move up to the National North. So yeah, Grant signing today, massive news. Hopefully there's a couple more through the door. The likes of Wardle signing on will be big. Get the captain tied down. And Finn, hopefully, unless he decides to make the move to Southport. But yeah, hopefully a couple more signings. Maybe a striker and a winger, and maybe another couple of centre mids, and I think we'd probably be good to go. Yeah.
How about you, Bobby?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think obviously the Bobby signing today, that's obviously huge news. I think with pre-season and obviously with people coming in, I think it's the thing we need to know now, and it's kind of touching on what we spoke about before with Youngie, is that whenever there's any doubts, you just need to step back a minute and appreciate that the fella's got us where we are, and he will get us the right players. We are pretty much in uncharted territory where no one within the club, except for maybe a few of the players and Youngie, have ever been associated with the National League North, really. So, it's going to be an exciting time. I generally don't know what we're going to expect, but I fully trust Neil to get the right players over the line and to get us really competitive. To be honest with you, if you can't be positive and upbeat now, when can you be? What a time! So
that's it. How about you, Mucky?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think we all expected Sol to leave, didn't we? And I think I've been happy with the players we've signed. Like, you've stayed on. Obviously, disappointing to lose main business Sass, but I think that the players we've been able to tie down so far, and obviously we hope and Wardle and Finn can stay. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the business we've done so far. You just got to be patient in this time, especially with non-league, because players are looking for better deals, and then when they don't get them better deals, they filter down to clubs like ourselves, and now teams like Bucks and stuff like that. So but I think we tied down Gregson, Robinson, and to tie down Grant's as big as well, isn't it? And then we've signed some Goodwin, who looks like good young talent, doesn't he? And then you've signed an experienced winger like Adam Thomas, who's been around the block with Stockport and Chester. So I think we've done good business, but hopefully we can bring a few with us in. But as it's been said, Youngie's been at this level, and you trust him completely to get a competitive team for us. And I think I think there's going to have to be a bit of realism. I don't think we're going to win the league or definitely get in the playoffs. But you know, I think we've got to look at Warrington. You know, they finished 12th in their first season, so you know, why can't we do something similar?
Don't forget to look at Tamworth, who won the league.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah.
Not that I'm getting carried away, but I'm just saying, even though I'm similar to you, Mookie, it can happen.
I suppose I'll be realistic.
I'm just saying, it's not that unrealistic.
Well, we'll finish it up there, gents. We've been at it now for over 2 hours, so we'll put it to one side here. But thank you very much, everyone who's joined us. We'll certainly be looking to do another one towards the end of the summer, just as the season begins. Obviously, we'll be looking to get one in with Youngie. We'll see if we can get Jay Leary on as well to have a talk about all the things going on off the pitch. But from myself and everyone at Crescendo Way, thank you very much for watching, and we will catch up with you soon. Remember to like, subscribe, and all of that stuff that I don't know what to do because I'm not from that generation. Thank you.